Martinsville, Virginia. It's the Pannill Knits 500 here in Martinsville, and that's the sponsor on this car. Unfortunately, Arrington, injured in a crash in Darlington, South Carolina, could not drive the car. However, he called on another hometown favorite, Jimmy Hensley, who's enjoyed a great deal of success here at Martinsville in the Busch Grand National cars. He'll be the pilot representing Buddy Arrington, Pannill Knitting, the man who sponsored this particular race, in today's NASCAR action in Martinsville.
Gentlemen, start your
Sweatshirts 500 from the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. This is the beautiful Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. Over the years, Clay Earls has built this racetrack into a true showplace for the drivers and the fans alike. But the overall beauty of this racetrack doesn't truly belie the difficulty that the drivers have in getting around here correctly. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Martinsville Speedway. I'm Eli Gold. This is the third of 3 Winston Cup events on the short tracks. Following Bristol, Tennessee, and North Wilkesboro, we're here today in Martinsville, Virginia for the Pannill 500. And Jerry Punch is with us again as per usual. And, Doctor, when you take a look at the comparisons from 1 year ago to where we sit today, one name comes to mind in a hurry, and that's Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt is an awfully strong competitor. Earnhardt's had a little bit different season this year. Last year when he came to Martinsville, he had already won 5 races and was looking for win number 6. This year he only has 1 win to his credit.
Ricky Rudd is the pole sitter for this afternoon's race, but the first story we'll explore is that of Dale Earnhardt. The third member of our broadcast crew again here this weekend is Pat Patterson, and he's standing by with the Earnhardt car owner, Richard Childress.
It hasn't been that pretty, but you've managed to still do what you wanted to do, and that's stay on top of the points.
Yeah, we've had a good season so far. We had some good races. A few things caught us. We've cut a few tires down along the way, but other than that, we've had a good season. The car's been competitive. We've led a lot of laps all year. So if you do that, you're still gonna be on top.
With a group of people like you have that constantly stay pumped up, even though you've had some bad luck, has it had any effect on their emotional high that they're normally on?
Not really, just watching the car run and working with Dale, knowing how hard he wants to win, it makes every guy on the team wants to win. So, that's the one advantage we got. Everybody on our team is winners, and they know how to win.
Gentlemen?
Another team that is really ready to run here this weekend is that of Rusty Wallace, the Kodiak Pontiac. 2 wins last year coming on the road courses, Riverside, California, and Watkins Glen, New York. But Rusty's team has won here at Martinsville also.
They won the fall race here in Martinsville back in 1986, Eli. Their first short track win came at Bristol, Tennessee back in '86, so he had 2 short track wins that year. He will sit on the front row, as you said, and the Kodiak Pontiac always strong on the short tracks. Barry Dodson and the crew have that car ready to run today.
So why don't we take a moment here to meet the next member of the starting lineup, Rusty Wallace, driver of the Kodiak Pontiac, standing by on pit road with Pat Patterson. Gentlemen.
Well, the man on the outside here, gentlemen, is Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Pontiac. And Rusty, I guess, brakes and patience and what else will get you through today?
Brakes, patience, and a good pit crew. That's what it's going to take to win this race. The crew's got to keep me up front. I got to do my job to stay up front. Not one single factor is going to win this race today. It's going to take a lot of factors, and that's what brings a good team together.
Well, this man has been very, very consistent throughout this year. Look for him to be one of the people in the hunt towards the end of this one.
Well, no doubt Rusty Wallace is certainly a good driver on the short tracks and the road courses, Eli, but there are a lot of really good short track drivers in the field today.
Some particularly good stories. Number 1, Mark Martin. Any type of race car, any type of short track, the high bank track like a Bristol, or a basically flat track as we have here at Martinsville, Mark Martin is a factor. Then there's Jimmy Hensley's story. It's a great story. He's just from down the road. He lives in Horse Pasture, Virginia, about 7 miles out behind the racetrack. He's in Buddy Arrington's car and qualified in the top 10, which is almost unheard of in that operation.
And when Jimmy Hensley qualified, the people stood in the stands and applauded, and they would really like to see Jimmy have a good run. He's won a couple of Busch Grand National races at this track in the past 6 months. He's been awfully strong here.
Of course, one man we have not yet talked much of is another native Virginian from Chesapeake, Virginia, Ricky Rudd. That team has won the pole position for this weekend's running. They qualified here a couple of days ago. Larry McReynolds and the crew got things ready, and Ricky Rudd feels that this could well be the day for his Quaker State Buick. As soon as we come back, a chance for us to sit down and chat with the pole sitter, Ricky Rudd, as our coverage of the Pannill 500 continues. Martinsville Speedway, Eli Gold with Dr. Jerry Punch, our coverage of the Pannill 500. The pole sitter, really nothing new for him here at Martinsville, Virginia. It's Ricky Rudd.
Well, that Quaker State car has been on the front row for both races here last year, and it's again on the front row. And let's go down with our Pat Patterson, who's standing by with Ricky Rudd, the pole sitter.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. The man on the point, Ricky Rudd, in the Big Q Buick, and I guess you're ready to go at it here today, aren't you?
Well, we really are, Pat. You know, the car's been running real good all week long. It qualified well, and hopefully we can keep this Quaker State Buick out front. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of good running cars out here today.
Save the brakes, I guess, just has to be the #1 thing on your mind?
Well, save the brakes, save the engine, and in the meantime, try to keep everybody behind you. And it's not quite as easy as it sounds, but it's a lot, like I say, there's a lot of good cars here today, but you really have to play a strategy on whether or not you should push the car, keep it out front, or slack off a little bit and get in the middle of that pack. And I think right now I'd rather push it and get out front.
That's Ricky Rudd, and he'll start up front on the point for today Pannill Sweatshirt 500.
We really haven't talked that much about saving the brakes, but that's a major factor here, getting these cars slowed down. Oftentimes you'll see a team lose their brakes and be forced to drop out very, very quickly, or at least not be around for the full 500 laps. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's Pannill Sweatshirts 500. A star-studded field from the Winston Cup division, led by that man, Ricky Rudd, and his Quaker State Buick, qualifying at 91.328 miles an hour. It is not a new track record, but an awfully good lap. And sharing the front row, a man from whom we've already heard, Rusty Wallace, driving the Kodiak Pontiac out of Fenton, Missouri, qualifying at 91 miles an hour.
Row 2, Eli, handsome Harry Gant. What a tough luck driver. He came so close a few weeks ago to getting his first win. Gant will start third in the Skull Bandit Chevrolet. Alongside Gant, young driver Mark Martin, four-time ASA champion, a real hot shoe on the short tracks. His Ford starts alongside Gant in fourth spot.
A couple of drivers from the Hendrick Motorsports stables, Jeff Bodine and the Levi Garrett Chevrolet from Chemung, New York. He's a former winner here, starting in the fifth spot. And alongside him, Darrell Waltrip, another former winner here at Martinsville, the Tide Chevrolet, qualifying at 90.825 miles an hour.
Former sprint car driver and two-time pole sitter this year, Kenny Schrader inside row 4. Schrader in the Folgers Coffee Chevrolet, prepared by Harry Hyde. Alongside him, the young driver, 1986 Rookie of the Year. A good run back then for Alan Kowicki. He's in the Xerox Ford. He will start in 8th spot.
Neil Bonnet of Hueytown, Alabama, has the Valvoline Pontiac starting 9th. He has never won here at Martinsville, nor for that matter has his Hueytown neighbor Bobby Allison. And Jimmy Hensley, the man we have already talked much of today, in Buddy Arrington's Pannill Ford Thunderbird. He starts in 10th spot from Horse Pasture, Virginia. As the field begins to roll, here you see row 6, Kyle Petty and Benny Parsons. Dale Jarrett and Dale Earnhardt share row number 7. You could see the winner coming from there.
Back in row 8, the man that won at Bristol, Bill Elliott, along with Rick Wilson. Row 9, Terry Labonte, freshman victory at Wilkesboro, and Dave Marcus.
When you talk about the first family, quite possibly of Martinsville, the Bodines have won a lot of races here. There's Brett, along with Bobby Allison, looking for that first win. Then Sterling Marlin and Lake Speed.
Back in row 12, Michael Waltrip, younger brother of Darrell, of course, and the veteran Buddy Baker, coming back to Martinsville, running all the races this year. Row 13, Brad Teague and young Davey Allison.
Veteran Richard Petty and rookie Brad Knopfsinger. Knopfsinger is a sprint car champion from Pasadena, California. Bobby Hillen Jr. and driver Kenny Bouchard. And the field is wrapped up with Bill Parsons and Derek Koth. 32 cars strong. It's a good field today, Jerry.
Good field. They talk about a pole jinx here, Eli. In the modern era, the last 27 events since 1974, only twice has a pole sitter gone on to win here at Martinsville. Waltrip did it back in 1880, and Cale Yarborough did it back in 1974. Both of those drivers in Junior Johnson prepared cars.
And not to beleaguer the point, but it really is remarkable that for all he has done in this sport, Bobby Allison has not won a Winston Cup race here at Martinsville Speedway.
Allison has finished second here 6 times. Today, his 44th career start at Martinsville.
The lights are out, as you see, atop the Pontiac Grand Prix SE safety car. Jim Graham, who drives the pace car at all of the Winston Cup events, doing so again here this afternoon. Cars going back and forth, making sure there's no debris on their tires and getting the tire temperature to just where they would like it. Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace, Harry Gant and Mike Martin in the next row. Jim Graham brings the pace car down the pit lane. The sold-out crowd here at Martinsville on their feet. Green flag is being displayed, and we are underway in the Pannill 500 here at the Martinsville Speedway. Quickly, Ricky Rudd takes the lead from the pole spot. He has Rusty Wallace settling in behind him. Mark Martin was forced to the outside, and very quickly now a challenge for second spot on the corner, chasing down that man. Car 26, Ricky Rudd, the Ford of Mark Martin, quickly picking his way through race traffic. Close call there. Car 29, Dale Jarrett, spinning coming off the corner. You heard the tires squealing as they went by. We'll update that story in a moment. But problems right off the bat for the Hardee's Oldsmobile. And, Jerry, we talked at the opening of the show about Mark Martin and how well he drives race traffic. And that Stroll Light Ford now is in second spot, and there's a problem for Richard Petty. The STP Pontiac with left front damage.
Trouble already for Richard Petty, a tough break, and Petty will probably have to make a pit stop. That tire apparently rubbing in the left front fender, that Pontiac Grand Prix, and Petty now falling back in the field as there's Darrell Waltrip making his way to the front. The field scattering out, and there's the man they're chasing right there, Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick.
Richard Petty and Dale Jarrett got together in turn number 4, and Jarrett has continued along, and we saw the situation for Petty. Here comes Richard. Obviously now time to get the repairs done to the STP Pontiac.
And Kenny Wilson, Dale Edmond, and the crew will go to work on that Pontiac, adding fuel to the car. George Caldwell, they're working on the left front, trying to pull the sheet metal away. The King, 7-time Winston Cup champion, Petty having his troubles. We'll be back at Martinsville after this.
We're at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia with Dr. Jerry Punch and Pat Patterson. I'm Eli Gold. Harry Gant is running in second, but car 26 is Ricky Rudd. He is the race leader here in the early going. We are watching now. Rusty Wallace is slowing down. Rusty Wallace's car is slowing on the racetrack, Jerry, right off the bat.
Rusty's car doesn't get into corners very well. Maybe he's got a problem with the brakes. We'll have to wait and see. Pat's making his way over there. Pat, how about it? What's the problem with Rusty Wallace's car?
Now, gentlemen, we just checked in Rusty Wallace's pit. Apparently, it is a brake problem. They've chosen to leave him out there for now, maybe look for that caution flag. Whether or not it's a master cylinder or a line problem, we're not sure, but we will stay around and try to bring you that story.
You know, it's ironic, too, as you see them getting set now to put a lap on Rusty Wallace. Rusty was telling me just yesterday, as we were talking, that he is habitually not very tough on brakes at a racetrack, so you'd have to expect maybe a mechanical problem as opposed to something that is of Rusty's doing here this early in the race. There you see Richard Petty. He's being passed now by Dale Earnhardt. Car 25 is Ken Schrader and Neil Bonnet. They're running back in 5th and 6th spot right now. Part of this good crowd, jam-packed. They are estimating some 42,000 fans here at Martinsville today. Interestingly, they have unveiled a brand new tower section of seats in turn number 2 of the Speedway. The sign atop it had said Winston Tower, but just before the race began, they took down that one sign and unveiled another sign that said Clay Earls Tower. They've named the new section of seats in honor of the promoter here and the owner of this racetrack, Clay Earls, at the Martinsville Speedway. There are your top 2 cars. Ricky Rudd, the 26, Harry Gant, the 33. Remember when green was not a lucky color at a racetrack, Jerry?
Well, it hasn't been lucky for Harry Gant. Harry Gant has gone over 2 years without a victory on the Winston Cup Tour, but this year the team seems to be coming together. This car Harry had here, the car that ran so well at Bristol, he was cruising toward a victory when he tangled with the lap car of Dave Marcus, and that caused Harry to have some problems. Ended up in somewhat of a fine from NASCAR. He parked the car because of some tempers flaring, and I don't blame Harry. He got a little bit upset when he had a shot at winning, and he hadn't been to victory lane in a couple of years, and now, well, he's has his shot again. But there's a guy who's also not been in victory lane quite a while, Eli. He has his troubles today.
Since July 4th, that famed race at Daytona when he won his 200th career victory, problems for Richard Petty. The STP Pontiac, as you can clearly see, is off the pace. And this doesn't look as though it's related to the problems he had earlier. We'll have to wait and see in just a moment. Everybody gets beaten and banged on here at this speedway. And let's see, Rich is going right behind the wall. He is taking it right behind the wall, not even to the pit lane. Pat Patterson will be there in just a minute. Meanwhile, Ricky Rudd and Harry Gant have gone past Brad Notzinger. There's the battle for 13th and 14th now. 44 Sterling Marlin, 7 Alan Kulwicki. Let's go to Pat Patterson. He's with Richard Petty in the pit area. Pat?
As you can see, a dejected Richard Petty getting out of the number 43 STP Pontiac after a very short afternoon here in Martinsville. Up in the front fender of the car, you can see where the front left fender has been mashed back in. That was causing some tire rub, and apparently now has done some engine damage that is going to knock Petty out of this one at Martinsville.
A very, very short afternoon. And now Harry Gant has made the move in and around Ricky Rudd. Harry Gant, the Skoal Bandit, assumes the lead here in Martinsville Speedway.
Harry's still looking for that first win and also that first top 10 finish of the year. His best finish at 12th coming at North Wilkesboro Speedway just a couple of weeks ago.
A gaggle of cars there from 9th on back. Waltrip in the 17, Bonnet in the 75, the 3 of Dale Earnhardt, Labonte, car 11, 5 is Jeff Bodine, the 4 is the Kodak Oldsmobile of Rick Wilson. They're all running from 9th position on back now as they shuffle it up lap after lap, and a good look at the speedway from atop the flag stand with Harold Kinder, NASCAR's chief starter.
Today's Martinsville race is third in a series of short track events. They've had 3 in a row. They've been up at Bristol, Tennessee, which the drivers say is a tough track. They've been over at North Wilkesboro, where it's all finesse. And here today at Martinsville, it's all power and brakes. And if you don't have those brakes, you can't get the car woed down in the corners. You'll end up in the boxwoods. And if you don't have that horsepower, you can't get off. Everyone single file. There's Kyle Petty and Alan Kulwicki, a pair of Fords now coming out of the bank, out of the turn.
And at the chance of sounding somewhat redundant, we say it every time we come to Martinsville. You see the different colors there on the turn? The inside groove is cement, and the outside is asphalt, concrete and asphalt. It is a different setup here. One thing, you see the number of racetracks, the asphalt will tend to wear away. Here, Clay Earls makes sure that his turn is not going to wear away because that cement's not going anywhere. But it gives these teams a different circumstance to have to deal with.
Harry Gant trying to work around the West Coast veteran. Young Derek Cope is a smoking Ken Bouchard's car you saw flash by there.
There are Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte. They're running in the 10th and 11th spot as Bouchard's car, number 10, continues to limp around the speedway. We are still early in the Pannill 500 here at Martinsville Speedway. Martinsville, the kind of pace that Harry Gant is setting. Well, there you see him going around Bill Elliott, and problems to the Neil Bonnet Valvoline Pontiac. Neil Bonnet with some problems, obviously off the pace here very early in the event. As we are working now around lap 60, there's Kenny Bouchard, Bob Johnson and the crew searching for the answers there.
Trouble for Ken Bouchard, rookie driver in the Bob Whitkin car, and Neil Bonnet making his way to pit road. The Valvoline Pontiac, a tough break for Bonnet, and Pat Patterson is standing by. Pat?
Well, Neil Bonnet brings the Raymock Valvoline Pontiac here on the pit lane. Smoke coming out of the left side of the left header pipe. Bob Rahili will go up under the hood there to see what exactly the problem is. Now the hood goes back down on the car, and apparently they may have... He's going to send him back around now, so Bonnet will go around and probably make that hard left-hand turn to bring it behind the wall.
Tough break for Neil Bonnet after finishing 4th in a 500 at Daytona. He had back-to-back wins at Rockingham and Richmond. And right now, Gant leading the way here with Rudd, Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, and Kenny Schrader in the top 5.
Pretty good short track drivers there. Now we're watching Lake Speed in the 83. Work right up on the rear deck of Dale Earnhardt in car number 3, the Goodwrench Chevrolet, defending Winston Cup champion. We were talking about Earnhardt earlier in the show. There's Jimmy Hensley, you see to the inside, car 67, driving for Buddy Arrington. And those 2 Fords right there, 21 Kyle Petty and the 7 of Alan Kulwicki working together as they were before the break back into turn number 1. Might not quite be able to tell it from that picture, but these guys turned some pretty good speeds down the front straightaway.
About 108 or 10 miles an hour on the front stretch. Average speed a little over 94 miles an hour here. Good qualifying effort by Rudd. Not a record that put him on the front row, but that car, the Quaker Stake car for Rudd, has been on the front row, as we said, in both events last year and the first one of '88.
Lake Speed. He and Dale Earnhardt picking their way through race traffic. Speed in the 83. Earnhardt in car number 3.
Lake Speed picking up an impressive first win of his career at Darlington a few weeks ago. The ultra-competitive track too tough to tame down in Darlington, South Carolina.
Well, we understand from the garage area that Neil Bonnet is calling it a day, and he has just climbed out of the Valvoline Pontiac. Let's go down to Pat Patterson. He and Neil Bonnet have the update. Fellas?
Neil, sorry to see you out of it. You know what happened on the car?
I don't know. Something went away in the motor, and we're going to try to keep going, but it just got worse and worse, and then just had to park it.
Sorry to see you out of it.
When Neil walks off in a hurry, he is normally one who likes to hang around and talk. And so that right there tells you a bit about the way Neil feels right now.
got to be frustrating. You know, they started so quickly there. We see a little bit of bumper tag between Kyle Petty and Lake Speed, but he started so quickly with the good run at Daytona, coming back from the injury last year, a near-career threatening injury, and then the wins back-to-back, and then since Rockingham, whoa!
Lake Speed, and the wins. Kmart Oldsmobile loops it around off turn 4. Lake Speed, no caution yet. Now they're putting it out. Caution is on the speedway. Lake does manage to pull off the racing area itself in behind pit wall. And there's Alan Kulwicki. Look at the right front tire on Kulwicki's car.
So he will be making entry on the pit road as the caution waves. And here's the leader, Harry Gadd in. The crew, of course, Travis Carter going to work on that car. And the rest of the Skull crew will change right side tires, add some fuel to the car. And Gant's going to be feeling pretty good right now. Still early here at Martinsville, but Gant's going to get 4 tires, and they got to hustle on a short track. You don't have time to tarry, even under yellow.
Here comes Kulwicki and the crew. They'll tend to the right front, and now Ricky Rudd is on pit road, the early leader.
And the Quaker State team, the Big Q, rolls into the pit area. The number 26 of Ricky Rudd. Now, he's had a problem. He was the leader in this race. Harry Gant, of course, got up in front. Now looking over at Sterling Marlin's car, the number 44 Piedmont Oldsmobile. They'll work on the right side of that car. It looks like Marlin may beat Rudd back out of the pits. Now they're going to do a 4-tire change over on Sterling. Had a little bit of problem there getting the air wrench. As you see, Ricky Rudd's team also doing a 4-tire change. Both of these cars very quick. Sterling Marlin apparently has the fastest car on the racetrack at this time.
Alan Kulwicki had to get the binders out there. He slowed in a hurry before running into Ricky Rudd. Here come Bodine and Darrell Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Earnhardt's crew pushing him away. Rusty Wallace. Tell you, the racing on pit road is oftentimes as good, if not better, than we see on the racetrack.
Tight quarters of the pits. You saw a good move by Waltrip to avoid a battle there, crunching in the pits. He got on the binders and allowed Jeff Bodine to pull away as Waltrip was held back a few feet. But we're still at it here at Martinsville.
Part of the sun-drenched crowd here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. We are under caution for the first time this afternoon on lap 75. CTN's coverage of the Pannill 500. Eli Gold with Dr. Jerry Punch and Pat Patterson. Average speed at this point, 86.703 miles an hour. That is a brand new event record for this point in the race. Obviously, we're still fairly early, but 86.703 miles an hour. Harry Gant is the race leader, car number 33. He's picking them off one by one, very quickly putting a host of cars a lap down. Right now, he's closing in on Rick Wilson's machine.
Rick Wilson, the young driver from Bartow, Florida, sat on the pole a few weeks ago at Bristol, Tennessee, driving a very competitive car prepared by Tony Glover and the rest of the Morgan McClure team.
There's Brett Bodine, car 15. The 21 of Kyle Petty, the 83 of Lake Speed, back running without any problems. Phil Parsons now in the Skoll Crown machine, leading that parade back into turn number 3. Phil was telling me earlier today that you never like to look past an event, but he's looking forward to Talladega next week, the Winston 500, because he has run well there. Of course, he's had problems there, too, but he's run well, and Oldsmobile showed so well in the Daytona 500. Phil's excited about next Sunday.
Well, Phil's best finish of his career came at Daytona. He finished 3rd, and they have tested at Talladega in that Crown Skull Oldsmobile. That car prepared by Leo and Richard Jackson. You'll have Leo Jackson preparing the car for Talladega, and that car should run awfully well.
Mark Martin, Benny Parsons. There's Alan Kulwicki separating those 2 men. Car number 7 is Kulwicki. The 6 of Mark Martin, the Strollite Ford, prepared by Steve Meal and Robin Pemberton. But again, we flash back to Harry Gant. You know, over the years, and you stop to think about it, when Harry Gant has run well, he has run so well. He has put people away by the dozen. I mean, when he ran so well at Pocono, when he ran so well at Dover, Delaware, he'd be leading by 16, 17, 18 seconds, stuff like that. Those events, unfortunately, have been few and far between, but he's been doing well. Problems off the corner. A couple of cars spin. Phil Parsons, we had talked about him. Rick Wilson was involved. Everybody else seems to be able to get through. We are under caution. Looks as though somebody has taken a giant can opener to the Kodak Oldsmobile.
And Rick Wilson has got severe damage in front of that car, trying to get the car slowed down and get around to the yellow flag. And there's Phil Parsons getting his car righted and refired. You see him coming by, and Harold Kinder was waving that yellow flag. So there's Harold atop the flag stand. And we are again under caution here at Martinsville.
Let's see what they finally figure out here. A lot of work to be done on the Rick Wilson car. Pat Patterson is down there. Pat?
Well, as you can see, Rick Wilson's Kodak crew is going to work on this machine. Badly damaged up on the front end. And this is so typical. Wilson has had this kind of a year almost everywhere he's been. He's run well. He sat on a pole earlier this year. But now you can see it's another problem Sunday afternoon for Rick Wilson.
It was difficult to tell really what happened there, to be very honest. There's Davey Allison's crew, Robert Yates and the fellows, Tony Price. The hood is up on that machine. Pat Patterson leaning in now to talk to Rick Wilson. Go ahead, Pat. Let's find out.
You know what happened?
Well, what happened there, Harry Gant was behind me. He was leading the race. We were trying to get our lap back, and Phil, he run over the curb or something, got real loose, and just spun right in front of me, and I had nowhere to go. It was just a shame.
As we said, it happened before you knew it. The curbing he's talking about is something we normally explain, and here's how the leaders are running right now under this caution. You might see a little strip of yellow on the lowest portion of the racetrack in the corner. The cars are going past it right now. That's like it's a curve, looks like you'd have on any street corner. And when you get up over that curve, it can do all sorts of deals.
About 5 inches of concrete that can spell the ends of your afternoon here at Martinsville. If you get too close to it, you could bounce off, knock a wheel out of a line, or possibly break something in the steering. But right now, it looks like Gant's got the line, and Earnhardt trying to get around the outside of Jeff Bodine.
Back to green here on lap number 94 of the 500 laps in the Pannill 500. Gant and Earnhardt. Jeff Bodine, Rusty Wallace. Buddy Baker will be next in line. Good run for him. Then the Sterling Marlin car, Ricky Rudd, Darrell Waltrip, Mike Martin, Terry Labonte, Kenny Schrader, Bobby Hillen Jr., and Kyle Petty. That is the running order at this moment. Average speed 66.582 miles an hour. 66.582 at this point.
Eli, you know what a difference a year makes. You talk about Earnhardt last year. He came in here having won 3 in a row and 5 of the first 7 events in 1987. He was again leading the Winston Cup point standings, and he won this race at Martinsville by virtue of Jeff Bodine's misfortune late in the race, coming together with a lap car. But this year, Earnhardt has yet won but once, and that's coming, of course, at Atlanta.
Rusty Wallace, we never did establish he's running again after those brake problems of earlier. The Kodiak Pontiac still out there trooping away, picking up those Winston Cup points. There's Sterling Marlin. Before the Phil Parsons Lake Speed incident, we were talking about, or actually the Phil Parsons Rick Wilson incident, we were talking about Harry Gant, who is dominating here, and how when Harry gets out in front and is hooked up, his car is probably more dominant at times than anybody else has been.
Harry has certain tracks, and he is just almost unbeatable. If the car would hang together, they've had a lot of mechanical problems with the car, a lot of engine problems over the past year or so, trying to get that sorted out. They have worked probably harder than any other team on the tour. Travis Carter, all the guys back in the engine room, have worked so hard trying to get this car together. And Gant, his first win came here at Martinsville back in 1982. He has run Busch Grand National races here, run awfully well in those. He has won, of course, twice at Martinsville, in, of course, 82 for his first victory, and again in 85. So he is no stranger to leading or going to victory lane here in Virginia.
Everybody seems to have settled down into some semblance of single file racing, or darn close to it. There you see among the lead cars in a single file all the way back to about 18th, 19th, 20th position now. Working our way towards lap number 110. Buddy Baker, never really known as a strong short track driver. Car 88, he's more than holding his own here today, doing a good job. Lots to talk about on the Pannill 500. Hope you can stay with us. SETN's coverage from the... Harry Gant continues to lead here at Martinsville, Virginia. The Pannill 500 on SETN. Eli Gold with Jerry Punch and Pat Patterson. We were talking about Buddy Baker before we broke away, and I had made the comment as we look at Buddy in car number 88, the fact that he is not known as the best of short track racers. Not that he's bad, he hasn't had as much success on the short tracks as he has in the super speedways, but he's running now in the 4th position, as he has been for much of the afternoon so far. That's good to see.
You know, Buddy Baker has the majority of his wins have been on the super speedways. He runs so well at Talladega. He runs well at Darlington and at Daytona. Only 2 of his total wins have come on the short tracks, one of which came here back in 1979, driving a Chevrolet for Harry Ranier. That car was prepared by Waddell Wilson, who is now the crew chief for Jeff Bodine.
Buddy Baker had a very honest comment as we watched Levante in the 11 and Dale Earnhardt in car 3 run just ahead of Buddy Baker's Red Baron machine. Baker once said out of Riverside, California, making no bones about the fact that he wasn't getting around that track all that well. He said, you know, I ran this track about 4 times before I knew it was even paved.
I tell you, Buddy is about as honest as they come, but he is one heck of a race driver. Look at Baker making a move beneath Dale Earnhardt. We've got to mention the fact that Buddy Baker today has a brand new crew chief, and that, of course, the young 27-year-old Joey Knuckles. Knuckles, you remember, may have been crew chief last year for Davey Allison, and Allison won 2 races and 5 poles when Knuckles was leading that team, the Rainier Racing team, and now Knuckles has moved over from a short stint with Mickey Gibbs to the Baker operation.
You saw Harry Gant moving in and around Darrell Waltrip. You know what else Buddy Baker's got going for him? Not that we want to turn this into the Buddy Baker show, and Harry Gant is deserving, but Buddy found out just this week he's going to become a grandfather. And he said, isn't it nice that they're making grandfathers younger and younger nowadays? That his son Brian and his wife Robin found out just this week that they're going to be having a young Baker before much longer, and Buddy himself next week is being inducted into the South Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. He's got a lot going on.
I'm glad you didn't say little Baker. There are no little Bakers.
That's right. No such thing as, what does Buddy stand, about 6'5", 6'6"?
Gotta be. He looks mountain, particularly when he's angry.
Yeah, got that right. Harry Gant continues to lead. He's not angry at all. This crowd is looking on, listening in to Motor Racing Network on the radio live coverage. Kenny Schrader is on pit road. The crew going to work on the Folgers coffee machine.
Crew changing right side tires in the Schrader car, and Gant now almost has, well, he does have Dale Earnhardt in his sights, and he will try to put Earnhardt a lap down, and that's something you will rarely see, is that good Chevrolet getting ready to be lapped by another car. And Gant, that just indicates how well that car is put together.
And look at the Kodak Oldsmobile, car number 4. The Morgan McClure team getting Rick Wilson back into the race after that caution flag earlier. And they have peeled off much of the sheet metal, as you see, kind of looking like a NASCAR open wheel modified.
Gant now trying to be very patient, moving around the youngster from Pasadena, California, Brad Knopfsinger, the sprint car ace.
Still trying to get by Dale Earnhardt. This is going to be a good battle right here. Earnhardt trying to stay on the lead lap, and Harry Gant trying to dispense with one of those cars who he knows is going to be a factor before this day is over. Earnhardt always is. Crowd watching that same battle.
A lot of fans on their feet now rooting for Harry Gant. A lot of Earnhardt fans not far from his home. This track in Virginia, of course, only about an hour and a half, a couple hours from Charlotte and down near Kannapolis way, where Dale Earnhardt just was born and where he grew up.
Say, if Harry passes him on the outside, he's going to earn it.
Gant's got the move coming out of 4, and they're up waving, watching Harry Gant maybe put the fellow who's been dominant for the last couple of years on the Winston Cup Tour a lap down, but Earnhardt's hanging on.
At the same time, we also see activity in the Harry Gant pits. Harry pits on the back straightaway here. He has just put Earnhardt a lap down, and Travis Carter and the crew now getting that pit area ready now that he's put Earnhardt a lap down. Harry, well, no, I thought he might come into the pit road this time, but evidently not. Well, now he's going down pit road. Here comes Harry Gant.
And the leader, Harry Gant, brings the Skull Bandit, number 33, into the pit area. Travis Carter and crew will go to work on the right side of the car. They'll change those Hoosier tires off, and apparently he's gotten some pretty good wear out of those tires. Gant getting a cool drink and a load of fuel, as he is your leader and has been. He's down the road.
Good pit service.
Great pit stop for Harry Gant's Skull crew. Good action on the racetrack. Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin. Boy, Jake Elder really has Sterling's car dialed in. Veteran crew chief, 51 years of age. Jake Elder has been around with some of the outstanding stock car drivers of bygone eras. Of course, David Pearson drove for a long time, and Jake Elder prepared his cars. Jake's been around with Darrell Waltrip, with Dale Earnhardt, now preparing it for the young driver, Sterling Marlin.
They must communicate with hand signals or something, because neither Sterling nor Jake says a whole heck of a lot. But they are communicating, that's for sure. Ricky Rudd in for service from Larry McReynolds and the crew.
Quakers trying to get some fuel in the car. They're holding the car up. Now they just about take the fuel can and the gas man, but that's not allowed. Rudd getting that last drop of fuel in, headed back on the track.
Keeping an eye on Harry Gant there. He is slowing down. Harry Gant is slowing down the race leader. A problem coming off turn number 4. I was just going to say I'm keeping an eye on Gant. I thought I saw the car kind of jerk in the corner. And you see the problem. He is going to go a lap down here as he comes down the back pit lane. The other leaders go by. Gant loses a lap, and the heartbreak and the bad luck of 88 continues.
Harry Gant just must not be able to believe it. Well, I guess he can believe it, the kind of years he's had the past couple of years. Gant brings the car slowly down to a halt, and Travis Carter and the crew will raise the hood. Our Pat Patterson is standing by. Pat?
Well, once again, gentlemen, the bad luck of Harry Gant has come back to haunt him here at Martinsville. Running so well early on in the race, Travis Carter and the crew have the hood up on the Skull Bandit. They're looking down to see exactly what may be leaking or coming out of the car, and apparently he has broke the motor. We'll try to get a report and a word with Harry in a moment.
Remarkable. It really is. Here comes Sterling Marlin to the attention of Jake Elder and the crew. Let's see exactly what kind of a pit stop they turn in. The clock is running.
This stop, right side tire is already off on the Piedmont Underall Oldsmobile, cleaning the windshield, second can of fuel going in.
Meanwhile, while they change the Piedmont car around, let's go back to Pat Patterson. He's with Gant.
Do you know what happened on it?
Something happened to the engine, but I don't know what it was.
You guys were running so well, I know you had to have your hopes up for this one. The car looked like it just was the fastest one out there.
Yeah, we was, we had our hopes up real high and running about as easy as you could run.
We're sorry to see you out of it.
Harry Gant almost in disbelief, shocked at what he just has happened to him again and again and again. For the 4th time this year, actually the 5th time this year in 8 events, Gant will not be around at the finish.
Simply remarkable. And the amazing thing is that Harry Gant hasn't forgotten how to drive a race car. Travis Carter hasn't forgotten how to prepare a race winner. The crew has not forgotten how to prepare a race car. Just stuff happens.
You know, these guys are the Baltimore Orioles of stock car racing. Individually, they got all kinds of talent, but as a team, they just can't seem to get it together. The last couple of years have just been abysmal for them, and I'm sure they'll turn that around in the near future. They've got to.
You know, we've not talked about, you saw car 8, Bobby Hill, and Jeff Bodine gets together with Kyle Petty. Jeff Bodine and Kyle Petty spin, and there's caution on the speedway, lap 246. Harold Kinder puts out the caution as Jeff Bodine and Kyle Petty get together, but both are able to continue, but you can see a good bit of damage to the right rear, which is actually dragging and shooting those sparks off from Kyle's car as he goes.
Well, short track racing at its finest, and Kyle now spinning those tires back behind the pit wall of the Wood brothers. Lynn and Eddie will go to work on that car.
You see Harold Kinder's caution flag is waving in front of our SETN cameras as everybody is again back on pit road for service. We are at this point 248 laps complete. Working the 3rd caution flag of the afternoon, and now with Harry Gant gone from the picture, we've got a brand new race in the Pannill 500. And here's how the leaderboard stacks up. We told you before the break that Bobby Hillen Jr. was running well. He's running well enough now to lead the parade. Harold Kinder looks him over from atop the flag stand and the green. See what Bobby Hillen has up his sleeve here. I'll tell you, for that car to be at the top of the field right now, in light of what they have gone through on the short tracks here the last couple of weeks, that's a story in its own right. We'll get back to the Hillen story in a second. I'm just watching Kyle Petty. They have just brought his car behind the wall on the front pit area. Pat Patterson is there. Pat?
Well, as you can see, gentlemen, Kyle Petty, driver of the 21 Citgo Ford Thunderbird, is just a little upset. NASCAR told him to park the car behind the pit wall, and Leonard Wood, crew chief on the car, is out conversing with the NASCAR officials while Kyle talks to crew chief Eddie Wood. But apparently Petty extremely hot about NASCAR making him park the car.
Well, Kyle doesn't seem to quite understand what's happening. He seems confused. He's trying to explain his side of the story to the NASCAR official, and of course Leonard Wood and the Woods brothers, whose shop is just nearby here in Stewart, Virginia, standing there talking to the NASCAR official. But that's one of the new rules, that they have the ability to put you in the penalty box, which means they put you behind the wall and hold you there for a while until you cool off, or they decipher what exactly happened on the racetrack.
So Kyle Petty sits and cools his heels just a bit. The racing still rather hot and furious near the point. Sterling Marlin is the race leader, car 44. The number 3 of Dale Earnhardt who managed to get his lap back earlier, is now running in second spot. Bobby Hillen Jr., who we were talking about before the break, is now in the third position. Hillen has had to use provisional starting spots here lately. Once the races have begun on the short track, they have actually been one of the faster cars, but getting into the field for them has been half the battle here in the last few weeks.
Well, Bobby Hillen and the team, they put together a brand new race car as Earnhardt gives a little awakening nudge to Sterling Marlin there. But a brand new car for Billy Woodruff and the Savola team. They took it to North Wilkesboro. The car ran okay, but wasn't quite dialed in. They tested here at Martinsville, as evidenced by the fact that this car running so well today. Billy Woodruff and Ron Perrier and the rest of that Miller crew for Bobby Hillen, showing they have done their homework and they have worked awfully hard, and their car running extremely well here today.
Working here at Martinsville Speedway. Only 4 cars running on the lead lap at this point. Marlin, Earnhardt, Hillen, and the Buddy Baker machine. Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte, those 2 cars, the 11 and 26, just ahead of the leaders, are actually on the tail end. Well, I correct myself, they are now 1 lap down. They are 1 full lap down. 2 laps down are Davey Allison, Bobby Allison, and Darrell Waltrip. 3 laps down now is Rusty Wallace. 4 laps down, Benny Parsons, or I correct myself again. Yes, Benny Parsons, Bill Parsons, Jeff Bodine, and Bill Elliott, all running 4 laps down. Here at the 300 lap mark. Looking at an average speed of a tick over 73 miles an hour.
Sterling Marlin, 30-year-old driver from Columbia, Tennessee. Second-generation driver. Oldest son of Tuku and Eula Fay. It's one driver having his hands full. Good job of steering there, and looks like we'll get some flagging, yes?
Caution is on the speedway. Mark Martin, he has put down some fluid, some oil in the corner because of what seems to be a blown engine. And we are under caution here for the 5th time this afternoon.
Tough break for the young Batesville, Arkansas driver. Mark Martin in the Stroh-Light Ford, the Jack Roush prepared car. Of course, Robin Pemberton, Steve Meal, and the crew have done so well. That car finished second at Bristol a few weeks ago. A good finish for a brand new team. Yellow flag again being displayed in the field here in Martinsville, Virginia.
So we do work caution for the 5th time today for Mark Martin and the Stroh-Light team. Their afternoon is finished, but we're coming back. Here at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia, the Pannill 500 on SETN. Eli Gold, Jerry Punch, Pat Patterson, glad you're with us today, as Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Hillen Jr. battle for the lead on the restart, with Darrell Waltrip watching in 3rd spot, Buddy Baker in 4th, and those are the only 4 cars currently on the lead lap.
Earnhardt getting a good jump on the restart, pulled away in front of Bobby Hillen. There's Bobby Hillen, young 23-year-old driver, been running now for about 5 years. Yeah, he's been here 5 years in the Winston Cup Tour. He raced back when he was 18 years old. In fact, he had to leave Charlotte Motor Speedway back when he was 18 after qualifying to fly back to Texas for high school graduation.
Let me restate something I said moments ago. The 4 cars on the lead lap are the 44 of Sterling Marlin, the 3 of Earnhardt, the 8 of Hillen, and the 88 of Buddy Baker. I think I might have included Waltrip in there. Darrell in the 17 machine is a couple of laps down. I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. But Darrell's not going to give up. He's going to try and get by 2nd place. Ricky Rudd is also going to sneak through. A little beating and banging there in the corner.
Rudd is being shown as the 5th place car, Eli. He is showing us 1 lap down. And Darrell Waltrip in that bright orange, the Dayglow Tide Chevrolet, being shown currently in 7th position, 2 laps down to the leader.
Buddy Baker, car 88, still on the lead lap. Hillen right behind him in car number 8, also on the lead lap. Terry Labonte, the 11 car, is a couple of laps down. Actually, now Labonte is being shown 1 lap down as well. Let's take you back and let's set the field exactly as they're running. The 4 cars on the lead lap are Earnhardt, Buddy Baker, Bobby Hillen Jr., and Sterling Marlin. 1 lap down are both Ricky Rudd in the 26 and Terry Labonte in car number 11. 2 laps down, Darrell Waltrip in car 17, Bobby Allison and Davey Allison. 3 laps down, car number 25 is Kenny Schrader. 4 laps down are Phil Parsons, Jeff Bodine there in car number 5, along with Bill Elliott and Benny Parsons in car number 90. That's how they're running at this point, back through 15th position.
Dale Earnhardt showing the way here. Trouble.
Michael Waltrip. Mike Waltrip, Alan Kulwicki. Schrader came in there, got a piece of it. Benny Parsons in car number 90. Notzinger will get through car number 98. Looks as though Kulwicki is the most seriously damaged.
Kulwicki took the brunt of that lick. There's Bobby Allison and Sterling Marlin trying to get around, but Alan Kulwicki will be trying to slowly make his way back around toward pit road. There's the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
There is no caution. Everybody was able to continue around. You see the right front particularly damaged on Kulwicki's Xerox Ford Thunderbird.
Alan trying to get over to pit road and almost collected Bobby Hillen as that car came by. A lot of heavy sheet metal damage on the right side of Kulwicki's car. He's just trying to keep the car as close down. It's hard to turn that car. Traffic now peeling by. Dale Jarrett goes by. And now Kulwicki will make the left-hand turn on the pit road. Paul Andrews and the rest of the Xerox crew standing by to try to fix what's left of the right front of Alan Kulwicki's car.
A lot of work to be done. And you see the jack won't fit under the car. They have to physically lift the car with manpower so as to get the jack beneath the automobile and then affect the tire change.
Alan Kulwicki was one of his best moments in his young career. Came here at Martinsville when he ran for Rookie of the Year back in 1986. He had a 4th place finish.
Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt is now pulled away to a comfortable lead of some 6.5 seconds. There are Buddy Baker and Terry Labonte behind him. Baker on the lead lap, Labonte a lap down. Baker still with a super run here today. If you're just joining us, Harry Gant was the race leader. He was so very dominant. We've also seen Sterling Marlin lead, Bobby Hillen Jr., and now Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt inheriting the lead on lap number 319, holding it to this point. Look at Notzinger, a little bit of short track experience there. The dirt tracks it off the corner.
Early on troubles for that driver there. Of course, Rusty Wallace, who started on the outside front row, he had brake problems early in the race, and that cost him some valuable time in the pits to repair that.
With 47,000 fans on hand here today. That was the guesstimated attendance, actually 42,000. I correct myself there. 42,000 on hand.
It's a gorgeous facility here. The dogwoods and the azaleas are in bloom. It is spring in Martinsville, Virginia, and everyone is out here on a Sunday afternoon to watch this event.
You have the ducks and the geese are here from the big pond right across from the main entrance of the Speedway. Really is nice when you arrive here at the track about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you walk into the track with the ducks and geese escorting you alongside. And you know something else that's very interesting, Jerry? We've seen so many tracks expand over the years, the super speedways and the short tracks alike. What Clay Earls does here is different than some of the tracks. Here he expands the parking facilities first and then adds the seats so that when the people show up, more numbers of cars, there's a place to park them, as opposed to some tracks where they add the seats and the parking area remains pretty much the same as it had always been.
You know, and speaking of expanding, Eli, just how many hot dogs did you eat this morning?
They were good, too. I lost count. My abacus broke.
No doubt about it. Whoa, trouble. Jeff Bodine.
Jeff Bodine spins off turn number 4, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Jeff Bodine spins. Now we see the caution flag. Jeff can't get the car well, as soon as I say that, he pulls away, but caution is on the speedway from Harold Kinder for the 6th time this afternoon. And this is going to set up a situation, Jerry, where the teams could conceivably go the distance on fuel from this point. We'll see who affects the tire changes and how many tires get swapped around.
Once they get slowed down, the safety car picked up, we would expect that the leaders make their way to pit road. Of course, Dale Earnhardt showing the way. There's Earnhardt in the black and silver numeral Goodrich Chevrolet, and Earnhardt peels off, followed by, of course, Sterling Marlin.
Only Dave Marcus stays on the racetrack. He'll pick up those 5 points for leading a lap. Pat?
Here's your leader in the pit, Dale Earnhardt, the GM Goodrich Chevrolet. Richard Childress, Kurt Shelberdine, and the crew going to work on the right side of this car. You can see a few battle scars over here on the left door right beside Dale. Goodyear tires is their call. That's what they've been using all day long. And the Hoosiers of Sterling Marlin, who's been in hot pursuit,
appear to have been working as well. But this particular set of Goodyears, we'll have to see what happens between the two cars. The leader is down and away.
He is down pit road and away. Here comes Darrell Waltrip. Here comes Bobby Hillin Jr. And Hillen's car has stopped. Bobby Hillin Jr. has stopped on the pit lane. He needs a push from behind, and he wants some help.
Bobby Hillin Jr. on the pit road cannot get his car to fire. Chocolate Myers from Dale Earnhardt's crew has come out to try to push now. A couple of the Kodiak guys have come out and try to give him a push. Hillin, up in the lead lap, is losing a lot of valuable time trying to get his car fired. Now he's got it fired, and he can thank Waddell Wilson and some of the Kodiak crew as well as some of Earnhardt's crew for that.
We might mention what happened to Bobby Hillin. As he was leaving pit road, a car pulled out in front of him. Hillin slammed on the brakes, and the car stalled. He tried to keep from hitting a car, and it cost him valuable time in the pit.
We are working caution here at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia in the Pannill 500. We are set to go back to green after the spin involving Jeff Bodine. There you see the leaderboard, just the top 3 cars on the lead lap. Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, and Buddy Baker. Green flag again for Harold Kinder. Ricky Rudd in car 26, trying to get back one of the laps. He is in arrears. Dale Earnhardt, though, battling right there alongside in the black, white, and silver Goodwrench Chevrolet. A little touch there into the corner. Sterling Marlin on the 44, watching as well. Bobby Hillin Jr., who was again running up with the leaders, did lose a lap before during that stop on pit road. That's why he dropped off the lead lap, if you were questioning that earlier.
Now Ricky Rudd is back on the lead lap, having gone around Earnhardt. There are the front 2 cars. Earnhardt, of course, the leader, and Sterling Marlin running in second spot.
Cars come steaming off the corner. Earnhardt doesn't want to let anybody else back into his domain. He'll work hard to get around that Quaker State Buick again. Average speed, 73.789 miles an hour.
Got to give a call to Buddy Baker. There's Baker and Bobby Hillin. Baker in the Red Baron Pizza Oldsmobile, currently being shown in the 3rd spot as he and Hillin going tooth and nail, I should say fender to fender, and Hillin has the inside move, and they are still now Baker trying to hang on.
Watching Dave Marcus out there. Dave, of course, taking a little heat from the incident between himself and Harry Gant at Bristol a couple of weeks ago. But Harry was leading, and he and Marcus got together. Dave was running some 3 or 4 laps down. But one thing you always see Dave Marcus do, we saw it earlier, I believe we pointed it out midway through the telecast. One of the cautions came up. Dave Marcus stayed out there, led a lap to pick up those 5 bonus points. Every time you lead a lap in a race, only happens once. You don't get repeated bonus points. If you lead 1 lap, you get 5 bonus points. Lead the most laps during the course of a race, you get an additional 5 points. But they all add up once you get to the Waldorf Astoria for the night in December when they hand out checks.
You know, Mark is running pretty well this year. He's hired Ivan Baldwin, the former West Coast car builder, who's with the Elliott team last year, and Baldwin is Marcus' crew chief, and they are really starting to come together.
The race leader is car number 3, Dale Earnhardt. He and the rest work their way around the country time lemonade machine of Michael Waltrip. They've been somewhat off the pace since a bit of a miscue on the racetrack a number of laps ago. They are to the point now where nobody can really handle Earnhardt. Sterling Marlin's been able to stay with him, but traffic is so tight on this racetrack that you really have to pick and choose where you pass, and as well as Ricky Rudd is running now in front of Earnhardt, you've got another groove occupied. Now Earnhardt says time to get around Ricky Rudd if he can. Can't quite beat him into the corner.
You got to remember, these cars came in not long ago and have fresh tires on, so Rudd's car running awfully well on fresh rubber. And Earnhardt knows that if Rudd can get a yellow flag and come around and be in the lead lap, he'll be awfully hard to deal with as the laps wind down.
Now, one thing we did see, of course, earlier, all afternoon long, after about 20-25 laps on the restart, as Earnhardt now makes the move around Ricky Rudd, after about 20 or 25 laps after a restart, Sterling Marlin over the curbing there, the Hoosier tires seem to kick in a bit more. Those teams that are on Hoosiers don't make the quick kamikaze run, but after 20-25 laps, they are able to narrow the margin between themselves and the others. Now we'll see what happens there when Marlin went over the curbing we talked earlier. Sometimes that can do some damage to the underside of the car, to the steering, to the alignment, knock the toe in out of line, as they call it, although he seems to be running well.
Got to give a call to Sterling Marlin. He kept the car from spinning, but now troubles for the Quaker State team. After a couple of second-place finishes earlier this year on the short track, he finished second at Richmond and then again at Wilkesboro, and sitting on the pole today. Apparently, they will not have a good finish as the car, the big Q on pit road, and Larry McReynolds has that head in the window talking to Rudd. Meanwhile, the fella everyone's watching and everyone's chasing is Dale Earnhardt.
And Sterling Marlin is not quite able to catch back up after that across-the-curb excursion. And that seems to be it for Ricky Rudd. Harold Kinder waving that blue and yellow move-over flag. That lets some of the slower cars know to get out of the way, because the quicker cars are closing in from the rear flank.
Now it appears that Sterling Marlin's car is starting to catch up a little bit. Marlin, as you said, has the Hoosier tires on, and it takes about 20 laps of those tires to come into being when they start to grip the racetrack and catch up. Meanwhile, Earnhardt and the Goodyear Eagles have long gone.
And Ricky Rudd has now climbed out of the Quaker State Buick. Their afternoon is finished. Let's go down to the garage.
Well, Ricky, we hated to see you out of it. What broke on the car?
Well, we think it broke a timing chain on the Quaker State Buick. Really not sure why. It just decided to go real late in the race.
Well, we're sorry to see you out of it. It looked like that last group of laps that you were running, that you were beginning to run down the leader just a little bit.
Well, they were making adjustments to the car all day, and we started off a little bit too loose, and they kept tightening the car up. We got running better. We just we could have got our lap back. I think we could at least run second.
Well, Craig, I think it's going to be disheartening when something like that happens. The $1.98 piece would break or something and put you out. Rusty Wallace slowing again in the Pontiac. He's had a long day after that brake problem very early, but I would find that hard to accept sometimes. When you run well, you do your job, and then a piece breaks.
A lot of disappointment today. Harry Gant had it early on. Gant had just collapsed Dale Earnhardt, believe it or not. If you're just joining us, Harry Gant was the dominant force early on. His engine gave up the ghost, and of course that put Earnhardt back in the lead lap, and now it's an all Dale Earnhardt show.
Sterling Marlin is not closing in at this point. As a matter of fact, Earnhardt's lead now is beginning to build even more. Wouldn't surprise me if we find out later on that Marlin might have knocked the car out of whack, out of alignment just a bit. They're hopping over the curb. Further back, 17, Darrell Waltrip. 28, Davey Allison. They are running for position. They are on the same lap, 2 laps down of the race leader. Closing in now, they are on Sterling Marlin.
That's the 7th and 8th place battle back in the pack between Waltrip and Davey Allison. And there's Buddy Baker, car number 88. Baker currently being shown in 3rd spot. Now, again, there are 3 cars in the lead lap. I would tell the folks, of course, Earnhardt's the leader. There's Earnhardt. He's showing the way. About 8 or 9 seconds back is Sterling Marlin in 2nd, and the 3rd place car is the Red Baron Frozen Pizza Oldsmobile of Buddy Baker.
Kyle Petty has returned after his stint behind the wall earlier. Behind the front 3, Bobby Hillin Jr. is 4th. Terry Labonte running 5th. Darrell Waltrip, Davey Allison, Bobby Allison, Ken Schrader, and Benny Parsons and Phil Parsons. Those are the leaders. We are at Martinsville. Grab the win in the Pannill 500. They'll have to do it within the next handful or so laps, because just 10 remain here at the Martinsville Speedway, and the Good Wrench Chevrolet right now having things his own way. Being patient, taking his time, picking and choosing his spots as he goes. That's been the story for Dale Earnhardt so far today.
Richard Childress looking for his 4th career win as a car owner here at Martinsville, Virginia. Of course, in the modern era, no one has won here at Martinsville starting further back than 13th. Harry Gant did that in 1985. And, of course, Dale Earnhardt started back in 14th spot today, so he'll set a record of sorts if he can hang on and go to victory lane.
It would be his 2nd win of the year if he could hold on. Neil Bonnet, his hunting and fishing buddy from Hueytown, Alabama, also with 2 Winston Cup wins this year. There's Sterling Marlin running in the 2nd spot. Buddy Baker having since fallen by the wayside. Only 2 cars on the lead lap, the Earnhardt and Marlin machines. Bobby Hillin Jr., car number 8, running on his own lap. He is 1 lap down, the only car to be a lap down. 2 laps down are Terry Labonte, Darrell Waltrip, Davey Allison, Buddy Baker, and Bobby Allison. Jeff Bodine still out there running, but at a reduced speed. Kenny Schrader still out there running as the laps wind down towards a conclusion here in Martinsville.
Now, we mentioned Earnhardt has one win to date in '88, that being the dominant run he had at Atlanta in the Motorcraft 500. But he has run well on the short tracks. We should mention, of course, at Bristol, Tennessee, he had one of the quicker cars there. They broke a fuel pump on the car. He came in the pits for a lengthy stop, lost a number of laps, but back out, was still probably the quickest car on the track, but finished laps down in 14th spot. Then a week or so later at Wilkesboro, he had the race in the bag. With a handful of laps to go, he had a right rear tire going down. He lost the lead and the win to Terry Labonte.
If you're just joining us, some of the teams that are already gone from the event. Mark Martin leaving with engine failure, as you see the indication from Harold Kinder, 5 laps to go. Derek Cope had engine problems. Brad Teague has been on and off pit road with an overheating car. Richard Petty gone with an overheating problem. Kenny Bouchard lost the engine. Michael Waltrip with fuel pump problems. Neil Bonnet lost an engine early. Alan Kulwicki having dropped out for the same reason. Most recently, Brad Knopfsinger. We heard Ricky Rudd tell us about what he thought was a broken timing change, so engine failure there. And that is pretty much it. The attrition rate just about what we normally see here at a race at Martinsville. Earnhardt's lead over Sterling Marlin, sitting at just 2 seconds right now, but with the laps winding down, it would take a major turn of events here for Marlin to chase down Earnhardt. There is Sterling in car number 44.
Of course, Bobby Hillen being shown a lap down in third, and you got to feel for the young Hillen, 23-year-old driver who lost that lap unexpectedly on pit road, not on the racetrack. He wasn't lapped on the track. He lost it the most unexpected way ever, and that's in the pit.
There's Earnhardt, hoping it all holds together for another couple of laps here. Bill Parsons just ahead of Earnhardt. Bill running unofficially in the 10th spot as we have it. We'll, of course, give you a full rundown once this race winds down. 1 lap to go. White flag is out from Harold Kinder, signifying 1 lap remaining for the race leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt looking for his 33rd career win and his second win on the year. Over $7 million in career earnings. He will go over the $300,000 mark this year by taking this victory.
He'll follow Benny Parsons off turn 4 for the second time this year. Dale Earnhardt accepts the checkered flag from Harold Kinder. Sterling Marlin finishes second. And the celebrating in the Good Wrench Richard Childress pit area. Childress, crew chief Kirk Shelmerdine, engine builder Lou LaRosa, and that whole crew, a job well done. We'll, of course, be going to victory lane here in just a moment or so as Earnhardt waves to the crowd. Unofficially, Hillen was third. Labonte fourth, Darrell Waltrip fifth, Davey Allison sixth, seventh Buddy Baker, and eighth Bobby Allison. Average speed 74.740 miles an hour. We'll take you to victory lane. 100 is in the books here at Martinsville, and a victory and a nice one it was for Dale Earnhardt, climbing from the Good Wrench Chevrolet. And Pat Patterson is right down there in the middle of that celebration. Pat.
Well, Dale Earnhardt, congratulations. Win number 2.
Thank you. You know, I thank the good Lord for a good, safe race today. It was a tough one. We're starting 14th. You know, we didn't know how it was going to turn out for us. But, you know, Richard and the guys worked with the tire stagger all day, and we kept working with the car, and got better and better all the time instead of worse. And, you know, I think we just wore them out. You know, Harry was flying at the first, but, you know, he had problems. So, you know, we come on and do our part.
This really is a race of patience, though, isn't it?
Well, it is. I thought Harry was running his car awful hard down in the corner and, you know, had to over-rev him. So, you know, you got to take care of him.
Dale Earnhardt, win number 2.
Well, they say there really is a difference with the Goodyears. He gives a good credit to the Goodyear tires, the stagger they put together on the Childress car. And, of course, his lovely wife, Teresa, there in victory lane with him, celebrating his second win of the year.
There's the new Clay Earls Tower we were talking about earlier as you look at the top 10. Marlin, Bobby Hillen Jr., super run. Terry Labonte and Darrell Waltrip. Davey Allison survives for his 6th place finish. Buddy Baker ends up in 7th. Bobby Allison, Bill Parsons, and Ken Schrader. Pretty good run today for a number of different drivers, but in particular, Sterling Marlin. He was right there battling for the lead much of the day, and he's in the victory lane area.
Well, Sterling Marlin, not a scratch in the win column, but another good scorecard for your team. 2nd place here today.
It did. The Piedmont team, Underall's done a good job all day, and I really felt like I had the car to beat to win the race, and got tangled up Rudd down in the corner. I don't think he seen me up under him and run me all up on the curb, and he bent the toe in all out, and, you know, after that, it's about all over. But was gaining on Dale there at the end, and we just run out of laps.
This has got to be, again, the confidence builder. You keep turning in consistent performances.
Oh, yeah, anytime you got the, you know, the crew we got, you got Jake Elder and Dewey Live and good building motors, and I'll put them up against anybody, and, you know, we just keep plugging along. We're going to win some races this year.
Congratulations. Good run.
Thank you.
Well, the problem we had suspected turned out to be the case with Sterling Marlin, but a strong second-place finish for him today. But all of us here at SETN tip our hats to the defending Winston Cup driving champion Dale Earnhardt, who today picks up his second win of the 1988 season, the Pannill 500 at Martinsville.